All right. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Thumbs up. Okay, I see your thumbs up, Jean. Awesome. Marie, is it Marie or is it T Marie? What's the first name?
Yeah, it's Tina Marie.
Tina Marie. Yay. Do
Remember.
you go by Tina Marie, the full
Yeah,
Tina? Oh,
yeah.
I love it.
I don't, it entered in this way, but yeah, I didn't
Oh,
have to change it. So
no, that's great. Now at least I know. So that's fabulous. Okay. Ari, would you like to press record and then we will get going. We might and we'll just add people as they come. I know it's a busy night. Hey, Linda,
Yes,
welcome.
it is recording.
So happy to see you. All right, everyone. Well, welcome to our first Trip Talk. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jen Dale. I'm the founder of Honest Heart Journeys, and I am just so excited because this is something new that we are doing with our first Trip Talk, and we'll record it so everyone can do it later on as well. But I thought as you join just right now, if you could just take a quick moment in your chat to just say where you're joining from. And if you have, and I'd also love to know if you have any specific interest in either of these trips, in our Utah trip or Kenya trip or any other trip that Honest Heart Journeys is offering. Would just love to get a sense of kind of read the room and see where your questions might be coming from. And even if you have a specific question, then we can know that we'll get to that in the course of this call. And feel free to raise your hands. We want to make this as interactive and inclusive and friendly and informal as possible. You'll see Ariana there. She is my daughter, but she's got her little ones with her tonight at home. So we might see a few little ones popping in and out. You'll see Heather at the top of the screen. She's our Utah trip host, and Terry is our Kenya trip host. She's with us as well. So good to see some familiar faces and some new faces. And let's just get going now. We've got about 75 minutes together, and we're going to do these trip talks once a month on our different trips. So be looking for those to come regularly so you can come find out more about what we're doing. And I would really love for you tonight to get a sense of the purpose of all of our trips and each trip individually, what the different focuses are. We'll share about again Utah and Kenya. And I really hope that Heather and Terry and I can give you a sense of the experience of these trips and our own heart connections to the places and the people, the environments, the culture. And then we'll review the itineraries for these two trips and make sure that we leave time to answer some of your questions or maybe identify something that we can follow up with you on as well. So we want to keep it moving, but we also want to make sure that we know how to follow up with you and what you'd like to know more about. These trip talks really, for me, I'm so excited because they bring together the two experiences that Honest Heart Journeys offers. We have our transformative journeys, and I know that that is a buzzword, transformative, and that promises a lot, but hopefully you'll see tonight how we really hope to genuinely offer true transformation. And because when we share experiences together, we connect as individuals in a way that we don't in other times of our life, and we experience individual growth, and we find the things that bind us as women, whether it's circumstances in our life or questions or things we're curious about or challenges that we're working through. What are those things that we discover on a trip that we share in common? And that reorients us and that binds us as a community, as really a sisterhood. And this is what we hope that on our Heart Journeys, both on our community and the trips, that we offer a really beautiful sisterhood to share those really positive things that lift us as women. So I would love to love to hear from all of you. Love to engage you a little bit right now as we get going and say, and give this some thought for just a minute and share it in the chat. When I say to you, transformative travel, or I like to call it soulful travel too. That's something that I really connects with me. When I think about transformative travel, what kind of experience speaks to you and makes it transformational for you? If you want to take a moment and put that in your chat, I would love to look at that later and love for you to think about that as you go into this. Give you just a couple minutes to do that. And actually, I think I'll just take, since there's not a huge group of us, would anyone like to share what comes to you when you think of transformational travel? What would speak to you? Here's John. I like that, Ari. Overcoming challenges, whether internally or circumstantially, basically when I push myself, see myself transformed. Deeper connection with the world. Thank you, Linda. Life-changing, Terry. Okay, that's great. Just continue to,
Having just come back from Morocco, the Morocco trip,
yeah.
I'm just so grateful for all the beautiful women, especially not just women, but all the beautiful people that we met along the way and really connected with on a deeper level. Several young women who I've been in touch with since we met, and even a young man who took us on a hike at the end of the trip for me and Charlie. It
Yeah.
just feels like you can go and travel and see a lot of things, but with Jen and Honest Heart, you can really connect with other people and get a sense of what their lives are like and what their hopes and dreams are. And so for me, that's really special, and I'm so grateful for that. And
Thanks
I'm
for
gonna leave my video off because I'm ready for bed and I don't want anybody to see me.
that's totally legitimate. I love it.
You are okay.
Thanks.
Yes, and Jeannie, it's me from Baja.
Yay. Ah, so fun. So you're seeing each other, some fellow trip sisters. I love it. That's awesome. That's beautiful. And I did see you making those really beautiful connections in Morocco. And I love knowing you're still in touch with some of those women, young women.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. Great. Intentionality. It's another one. Anyone else? Anyone else want to share as we get going? Okay. Well, that's a really good one to continue to just think about because and I think Annie, you shared that travel can isn't just a place you go to and you tick a list of check boxes of things that you see and you make sure you get a picture there. It's really immersing yourself in the place and the people and being changed forever by what you're feeling. For me, at least, it's feeling the spirit of wherever I am. So thanks, everyone. I loved you sharing that and continue to ponder that. Um, and I think I just shared that experiencing the spirit of the place and the people, the environments and the culture are very much what Honest Heart Journeys does. And whatever kinds of trips we do, we really want to make sure that you feel you get the outer journey, you get the place, you get where you're going, but there's a whole other level of inner journey going on. And that's what we facilitate with it. And that's a very personal thing for you. The questions you're bringing on the trip, how you enter the trip, where you are in life, and what you're thinking about, and the needs that you have, and all of that, and just tuning into that. That is that inner journey, the conversations you have with other women, that just take you to another level. That's all part of that inner journey. We hope that on all of these trips that you get an opportunity to just for real authentic connection, not just scratching the surface. And I hear so often after these trips, women will say, "Oh my gosh, I just spent 7 days with you, with this group of women, and I feel like you all know me better than my friends at home that I played pickleball with or whatever." How is that? How can that be? What is it? What's that magic? What's the secret sauce or whatever? So that's what we hope you feel on these trips, and then that's what we hope you continue to nurture on our community. So that connection that's authentic and deep around the things you're thinking about in life, and that you have a chance to unplug and grow, intentionally grow and be curious, continue to learn and continue to thrive and feel alive wherever you are in life. So, the other thing that's very precious to me about these trips is that they are intergenerational. It it is such a beautiful thing to sit in community with like three generations of women in one trip and see the reciprocal wisdom shared and honor shared amongst women. It's beautiful to see a mother and daughter sitting in a group, and as a mother to have another woman telling your daughter the same things you've said, but maybe it just hits her different when it comes from another woman. And there's just beautiful things that happen when we share these intergenerational experiences. And I know several of you on this call have been at the heart of that on many of these trips. It's their time to really deepen relationships. Maybe invite a sister and or a friend and really take your relationship to a much deeper level. Celebrate milestones in life. Every trip we have, someone is just retired, or their last kid went off to college, or I know Heather in Utah, you're going to have a big birthday that we're going to just celebrate big time, which is so fun. So it's all about celebrating. It's about celebrating these times in our life together. And I mean, what a beautiful gift. What a beautiful gift to have an experience that really marks an important time in your life, important time of transition, new questions, thinking about what's ahead, whatever it is. That tends to be part of these trips. So, and then the last thing I wanted to share about these trips is it's all done within a culture of invitation, because we as women have a lot of responsibilities in our lives and a lot of roles that we fill and a lot of things that we must do. And that's okay. But it's kind of nice to have an opportunity to remove yourself from your everyday life and not have responsibility to anyone else and tune in to your own yes and no and to what you want and what you need. You'll have so many beautiful opportunities within these trips, and there are going to be times where you're just going to go, I'm not feeling that. I want to have time to myself. And that is great. So you are invited to participate in everything, and you're invited to really know your own heart. So those are just some of the things that make these trips distinctly Honest Heart. There are more, but I wanted, for those of you who are new to this, I really wanted you to kind of get the feel of that. And then I am so eager to jump into our first trip, and we're going to cover Utah first with Heather. And I'm going to kick it off to her, but I just want to say, why Utah? Why Desolation Canyon in Utah out of Green River? And I will say to you, Utah, this is our very first trip. It is the original Honest Heart Journeys trip. In 2021, June, I was just starting Honest Heart Journeys. I packed up my life in an Airstream, drove to Utah, and did the scouting trip for this. It was on the same river where my husband had been a guide, and he's like, this is an amazing experience. Unplug from your life like nothing else. And later on in life, I directed a teen program where I really wanted to find an experience for teens who were sophomores where they could just totally become self-aware. And I thought, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take their phones away, and we're going to take them into a canyon in Utah. And they are going to experience a whole new level of life. And they did. So I love the environment, what it brings out in us when we truly unplug in Utah. And it's all about that individual tuning in and growth. So this is a beautiful trip, our original trip. And Heather, I would love you, your heart is in this trip. And I would love for you to share now more about the Utah trip and what you love about it. It's all yours.
Thank you. I am so delighted and honored. I did not go on that first trip, but I remember Jen telling me about it and telling me the book that she chose, which is When the Heart Waits by Sue Monk Kidd, and thinking those are two of my favorite things in the same place. And I actually read that book going down that river with a bunch of 20 something urban children on an outward bound trip. And that was my first time through the canyon, and that was 20 years ago, actually just about right now. We were doing that trip, and it changed my life in a lot of ways. It was not my first river trip. My first river trip definitely showed me my favorite way to travel in the backcountry, because you get to pack so much and eat so well, and yet you're camping. It's awesome. And every time, every day is a different campsite. I don't know, we might stay a couple of nights in one of the sites. Do we do any double nights? No, it's a different place. And, you know, it's called Desolation Canyon. We affectionately call it Deso. There's nothing truly desolate about it. It's desolate of civilization as humans have constructed it. So that idea of being unplugged to the point where it may be challenging for parts of us because we're so used to being plugged in, and that trust that if there's an emergency, what are we going to do? Like the letting go and removing ourselves from life. Like that's the only desolation there is of kind of human interference, which leaves us in this canyon to experience geologic time that is just extraordinary. And for me, doing river trips through canyons has been something that invites me to go deeper within myself. So we were talking about transformative travel, and instead of transporting ourselves, just moving a physical form from one place to another, that changing of form that happens, I think Tina Marie, you wrote, returning with a different soul. And I feel like every time I do a river trip, it leaves me different than it finds me. And I know that's true about any of the Honest Heart trips. I can only imagine, because every single one is done with such intentionality. But there's something about the desert for me. I've always said that the mountains are the landscape of my heart and the desert's the landscape of my soul. And I truly feel that. I feel changed by the desert every time I go into it. And river trips just give you that refreshing element of the water, and where you can see how that soft element, it's so soft. I mean, we drink it, you know, and it's refreshing, and yet it can carve mountains through the hardest rock. And so that metaphor just carries us the whole way through the river. So the outer journey, I know that for me, I was really struggling. I had gone through an experience 2 years earlier before I went on the Green River trip, where my husband had had an affair while I was pregnant, and then my son was born still. And then I went back to college 3 weeks after bearing my child. It was just a very turbulent time. And my soul was undergoing so much transformation. And when I went on this outward bound trip, it was following a season of working up on Mount Rainier. I worked on the side of the mountain up at their base camp, cooking for the guides, and had an experience where I got to summit the mountain and almost fell into a crevasse because of a mistake that was made on somebody else's part. I didn't fall into the crevasse, and I lived, and I found out that my thighs, which I'd always cursed for being too big, had saved my life by being so strong. And it was a very transformative time that I went straight from that into this trip in Utah. And I had signed up for a very different trip a year later that had gotten canceled. And they said, we have one spot on this trip. And I had signed up to be on a guide trip for people who were already versed in the backcountry. I'd been on a lot of rivers. I'd backpacked a lot. I'd camped. And instead, they made a mistake and said this was the same trip because it was going to the same places. But I was the only person who had any backcountry experience on the whole trip. And it was almost all boys who had gotten in trouble, and their parents said military or outward bound. So it was a very different trip, 81 days. And the second week was on the Green River. So I was just in a lot of asking big questions about my life. And this river trip was 2 weeks long instead of one because it actually flowed into the Colorado and went down the second biggest canyon in the United States, Cataract Canyon, then feeds into Grand Canyon. And I had been down that part of the river, and I was coming to reclaim the places I'd been with my ex-husband and to take them for myself. But the Green River was new. And so being on that river just really gave me the space to dive deep into those questions and when the heart waits. And I told Jen, so this is the book for our trip. This is my original copy, which is all of these. And you know, I've read it probably 7 times, and I've sent it to so many women in my life because it's such a powerful book. But I would write the date when I first started, well, the second time I read this, I would write the date when I would read each section. So I was like, what are the chances there's an October 21st in here? And I wonder what it says. And this little, I'm just going to read a couple paragraphs. It's titled, Tip Me Over and Pour Me Out. And I wrote, 21st October 2007, my last night in Ventura. This is right before I moved back to Colorado. There was a big forest fire I was afraid of driving through. So it was there was ash raining from the sky. It felt very apocalyptic. But she says, one day while I was praying in stillness, the lines of a song I had sung during a tap dance recital when I was 5 meandered into my head. I had been dressed up as a teapot. That's right, a teapot. The song went as follows. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. And there you go. Tip me over and pour me out. I interrupted my prayer with laughter. But as I meditated on this song, it occurred to me that the dance of the teapot is the dance we all do in the dark night. We're containers filled with an ego elixir we've brewed ourselves. When the heat is turned up inside and the old begins to burn away, we must offer God the handle and the spout of our lives. God tips over and pours us out. The me is poured out, the self with a lowercase s, the old ways of being, the old ways of relating to God. We're emptied so that we can be refilled with new and living waters. And so I opened that right before talking to Jen before the call, and I thought, man, that's what this trip will do. It's going to tip us over and pour us out the stuff that we want to leave behind. And we're going to facilitate that because we're going to be very intentional about it. And we've got a welcome call when people sign up. We'll have a welcome call in February, right? And then March, we're doing a workshop to set our intentions. And then April, we're doing another workshop. So we'll send those dates out, but we're starting well before we even get on the river. And then we show up that first day and we have a dinner together. And it's like reuniting with old friends because we've already spent the time getting to know each other online in the honest heart way. And then we get onto the water for 6 days and nights with amazing women guides who are just a breed of their own. They are so spectacular in what they leave behind and give up to do this kind of work. And they'll be caring for us. And I forgot one thing that I have never done. We are flying in over the canyon. So we see where we're about to go. We see that hawk's eye view of looking down over the river, and then we get down into it and let it carry us, which I think is going to be a really spectacular way to start. And so we set onto the river, we have a floating lunch, and that's the first thing that we do on the river is we are carried by the rafts and just getting to know each other some more on the river. And then we have, like I said, 6 days and nights on the river. We'll be reading the book. We'll have read the book and done things ahead of time, but we'll be sharing what that book has brought up for us, what we're learning in our own questions. We'll have solo time and canyon hikes and the starry, starry nights that are just, as you all know, if you've been out away from any city lights, it's pretty spectacular. You can see the Milky Way. I used to think that was a cloud when I was a kid. And I was like, why does that cloud not move? Because I'd grown up in a city. And so it's pretty amazing. Then we'll fall asleep to the sound of the water. And river travel is so special because you don't feel really dirty and grimy all the time. You're bathing along the way. And so it feels really nice to refresh. You can go for a morning dip. And yeah, it's just nice to be on water. We'll rotate between rafts, and then you can get into smaller boats called duckies if you want to paddle. But you can also my understanding is you can be on the oar boats and let yourself be carried by the river the whole time and just, be in awe of the canyons and the wildlife. And then we're going to be going through lands of the Ute people. Butch Cassidy and the Wild Bunch wrestled cattle down here. We even stop at a place that Butch Cassidy stayed and ended up pulling this whole Robin Hood trick for these property owners where the banks had come and taken their land, their deed, and then he stole it back and gave it to these people. And there's like an old moonshine still. I mean, you're in history. It's all around you, which is pretty cool. And every night we'll have our circle, and every morning we'll start with intention. So we will be putting up our own tents, which is exciting. If you don't know how to do that, we're going to help you and teach you, and it feels really great to know how to do that ourselves. Sleeping on sand is different than I live in the Rocky Mountains. It's hard ground. So you can kind of burrow in, and they're giving us these Paco pads that are very coveted by all rafting guides, but we get to rent Paco pads. It's part of the trip. And they're really thick, like mattresses that lay on the ground, and they're really wide, and they're just so comfy. It's not like a little foam pad for camping that you have to carry yourself. The food will be amazing because we take coolers full of everything that they really like to wow you on river trips. The guides do. They like to show off their cooking skills. And so there will be wonderful, wonderful food and nourishment. And yeah, let me see. Was there anything else I missed from my notes? This really is about giving yourself time to return to a deeper, wholehearted sense of ourselves. And one of the things I realized, one of the 3 key things I didn't mention was on this trip, the first time I did it with Outward Bound, they introduced me to the hero's journey, the heroic journey. And so the title of this trip is Heroic Journey into Grace. And the definition of grace is unearned love. And so to me, this heroic journey it starts now. If you're thinking about coming on this trip, it starts now. It starts with, do you take the call? Do you find the way to be on the trip with these amazing women and to bring the gifts that you have to be shared with this group of women? And you take that call, because part of the heroic journey is to refuse the call, to think there's no way we could come up with the money, or I can't do the dates. But if your heart is called, finding that way is part of the heroic journey, which is pretty cool to realize that that's already part of the journey. And then it's the departure, where we separate out from everyday life. We separate out from technology and the to-do lists and the voices that are trying to tell us what we should be doing all the time. Now, some of those are internalized, and we'll get to bring them on the trip and let them go along the way. But those shoulds are not where we'll be functioning from. And so this really is a place to try on, like, do I know what I like? Do I know what I want in life? Any of those bigger questions. I'll be turning 50 just days after the trip, which is exciting. I don't really feel like life is going to change that much, but I do love that I get to be intentional about thinking about the last decade and all the things I've learned and what I'd like to make space for as I move forward into a new chapter, since it's a new decade. There are women that will be coming at all different stages of life. We have a mama that signed up who has 2 small children, and she's been signed up for a year for this trip, who's just like waiting for this trip. And so we'll get to celebrate her and remembering who she is without being pulled on, and needed all the time in the same way. And we'll get to give each other the permission that we're all seeking, because we want to give that to each other, the space to explore and to be curious together. We will play, play, play. And I think that's something that I know in my work as a coach, that's one of the things I assign more than anything else to women. Remember how to play, or learn if you never did. Because some of us, grew up way too fast. So we get to go play and just feel the water on our bodies and the wind in our hair and explore what spirituality is to us and what are our questions. Does anybody have any questions? Jen, did I miss anything?
Gosh, that was so beautiful. And I was gonna say that if you want to hear more from Heather, her story and all that, she actually has on the Honest Heart podcast that I do, episode 6 and episode 17. So episode 6 is all about home and belonging and her story before. She talked about Mount Rainier and all that. And then she is a beautiful marriage officiant, and episode 17 is all about marriage, the adventure of marriage. So if you want to get to know Heather more, definitely check out those episodes. But now I'm going with you. I'm so excited. I'm so ready for this. And I think we may have some repeat women, and I love the freshness and the newness and the individual take that you're going to bring to this, because every time you go down a river, it's different and you're going to have a different group and a different experience. So why not do a river trip? Lots of them. They're your favorite. So thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
for sharing that. That's
absolutely.
really beautiful.
And you have a podcast coming out about the trip too. So if you want to hear more
We
in relation
do. Next week, we
prepare.
just recorded. Thank you. I can't believe it. We just did that a couple days ago. We just
I know.
recorded about this trip. So yes, you can share that for sure as well. Yeah, thank you. I just want to put it out to those of you in the room. Any questions or any insights from what Heather shared? What part of Utah spoke to you? Just curious if anyone has.
Thank you, Tina Marie. That's a very sweet comment. We'll have to hang out another way.
That's great. Love it. Thank you, Jeannie. That's great. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I'll keep us moving so we can get to questions later. Let's switch gears. We are going to cross the Atlantic Ocean to the continent of Africa, where Annie and I just returned from our incredible Morocco trip. And we're gonna dive into Kenya. And I would say, why Kenya? I just think after the unplugging journeys on the river, I really feel like for me, we need trips that make us look at how we connect with the outside world. We've done the inside world on the river, but how do we relate? How do we listen to others to understand? How do we honor different cultures, different points of view? You know, how do we frankly be what the world needs? Like listen to understand others and to connect with them on a deeper level. Women need to give, and there is something about the giving of understanding another, of listening, of holding space for another story that is really a rare gift. And so immersing ourselves in place and in the people is something that we want to do with our trips as well, about the culture. And I have a love for the continent of Africa. I could live there. There's something about it where I feel, and I felt it in the dunes when we were riding camels like a week and a half ago. It seems crazy, but there's just an ancient feeling in the land. And I was a dancer in an earlier life, and it's like dancing to drums. It's just something so primal within me that I feel when I am there. But that's the place. But for me, the schoolyards of children with smiles that are just light up the world, and they're dancing and they're singing at recess. They're not on their smartphones. They're just dancing and singing, and there's such joy, and the smiles are so genuine and so inclusive and so warm that there is, and the sense of community I feel everywhere I go there. I feel that in Kenya, and I was there just like 9 months ago. I was in Kenya, so this sense of community that our world needs, I feel we find there, and so that's why it is so important to me that we offer that kind of experience. And dear Terry Ambugo, who is going with us and hosting, is a Kenyan herself living in the United States. So her life has straddled these two wonderful, the best of these two wonderful cultures. Terry and I have worked together and cared for young women, and I just when I returned from my first trip to South Africa, I looked her in the eye and I was like, now I understand what I see in your eyes. I understand the spirit of this place. So, Terry, I would love for you just to share a little bit about your story and what it is about the heart of this experience that is calling to you to share this coming February.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy that you've joined us today. Heather, thank you so much for your piece on Utah. It was heartfelt. Jen, thank you for gathering women, for gathering sisters. And I believe for me, that's how it all began. Kenya is home before America became home. And I'm blessed to have these two spaces that I can dwell in at the same time. I call them my gifts from God. And when I'm in America, things look different. And yet there are things I really love and enjoy. And my heart yearns and sings and can't wait for a time when I can be back in Kenya. So when Jen reached out and said, would this be possible? Like Heather hinted a while back, is it the schedule? Is it what? And I felt that. I felt that I couldn't do it because I'm a mother of two teenagers. I have a daughter, a senior this year, a husband, a job that calls, and America is very busy round the clock. And I was like, how do I do this? But the spirit that calls and says, yes, you can do this, I found a way. So yes, I am going home to Kenya, hopefully with most of you in this call tonight, and to experience it through your eyes. I know what I'm going to experience. Each time I go, it's a bit different because I just feel that I could really use more of it. And so through your eyes, it will be different because most of you will be experiencing it for the first time. And I'll be there with you side by side to take it all in yet again in a new way come February.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Terry. Tell us a little bit about your experience as a woman in Kenya and how that like a little bit of the juxtaposition of your life here, and then you have sisters. You come from a family of sisters, right? And so you
Yes.
definitely have that feeling of being brought up in a family of women, but there's a uniqueness to your family, I think. Your
Yeah.
parents and
Well, I will share some. And yes, there's a podcast that Jen and I did that can point to some of or even furthermore, help you understand some of my experience. I'm a firstborn in a family of six. And in my village, which is a small village, Kenya, let's say that it has close to over 45 tribes, as some of you will come to learn. So I come from the Luo tribe, and for the longest time, girls were never educated, and that's across Kenya in many cultures and communities. School was for boy children, not the girls. I'm lucky to come from a family where mom and dad felt education was worth their effort for their children. And through that education, I found my way to the US. And I'm continuing to grow in that space with many of my siblings now. Currently, I only have one sibling in Kenya. I have one in Norway, and three others here in the US. And we go back and forth across the continents wherever people are. I've visited my sister in Norway. She comes often to see me here. We've gathered in Kenya in 2023 and just had a wonderful time celebrating our parents and enjoying the fact that they chose to give us life that was worth living. So I would love to share this in depth with you
Yep.
when we are together on this trip and to open up more about how navigating spaces can be tough as an immigrant in the US, as a Black woman in the US, and just someone who is needing to balance life across cultures and raise two daughters in a home so far away from home. But to do it all with grace and love, because there's a higher power that says it's possible. I welcome you all to this beautiful trip.
Mm. Thank you, Terry. And you and I were just this afternoon talking a little bit about the trip, talking about the diverse experiences that we're going to have with women. The idea that we will during this trip we will spend time in modern Nairobi in a trauma circle, wisdom circle, and women supporting women. So we'll have that more modern experience. And then we'll interact with our Maasai guides. There's the organization that we partner with actually started a new guide school, and women are now becoming guides, safari guides, which is so exciting. And they're
Yes.
also being placed in leadership in these in the safari camps. So and we'll have a lot of time with them, and then we will meet with the tribal community, with the mamas that are beading. They have a beading co-op in the Masai Mara, and we will have time with them. And then some of them are teachers in the Masai school that we will visit. So we were just talking today about, and then you layer on all of that, Terry's perspective of understanding what it's like for most of us to live in a Western culture, but then to have that eye on the tribal culture as well. And her tribe is different from the Maasai. So there's all these
Yes.
layers of experiences, right? That you will bring a
Yes.
beautiful perspective that I can't, but that you have. And I'm just so grateful that you're going to be there for that. I think that'll be
Well,
wonderful.
I can add to that and just say that we are all blessed in wherever place God chose to call home. And in every place, we all do it differently. To be a woman in the US is not to be a woman in Kenya.
Right.
And as we open our hearts to travel and embrace, it's okay to know that it is going to be different. And yet, in that same space, that we can honor people's cultures and also love their ways and know that there is wisdom to why God said that that was their way of life.
Right.
But more than anything, glean in and find the reason why it's such a big, big connection. Just as the book we pointed out that brings us together during this trip, I have it. It is I am because we are.
Mm, mm.
And so Terry cannot exist without the sisterhood. And today, God says the sisterhood is coming through honest heart journeys. So together, we are going to find out why I cannot exist without you, or why God has said that today you have to exist because of me. We are all so united and connected.
We are, we are. I love
Yeah.
that you chose this particular book for Kenya, for the Kenya trip, because it's actually a photography book and of Kenyan sites, I mean, actually of Africa, from many different places in Africa. But a picture says 1,000 words or tells 1,000 stories, whatever that phrase is. And it's a very powerful book, but it's coupled with beautiful African proverbs. And so there's a spiritual just overlay to all of this too. So we've chosen that book for this trip. And then today we were talking about, well, we're going to have a little bit of immersion into the colonial influence in Kenya as well. We will spend a day in the Tagoni tea fields that definitely were brought by the colonists. But our first
Yes.
day, just an opportunity to just get out, after the plane, to just walk the tea fields, to picnic, to stretch our legs, and just to begin to get to know each other and the tea fields. And then Karen Blixen's home from that. I don't know if anyone, I can't imagine if any of us has not seen Out of Africa with Robert
Maybe.
Redford. But I mean, it's just such a class. I saw it recently again. It's such a classic. And so we will go to Karen Blixen's coffee plantation, and we will actually stay in Nairobi in the neighborhood very near that home, and then we will take a plane out when we come out of the Mara. We will take a plane over the Mara where we've just spent a week, like Robert Redford does. So there's just a lot of, so we will definitely have the colonial influence as well, which is part of Kenya's history. So and we can unpack that a little bit while we're together too, which I think is important. And then the last stars, those are all the people, but the last stars, you can't forget the wildlife on the Mara, and just that incredible ecosystem that when you are on daily safari, whether we're in the jeeps or we're on walking safari, you start to see the layers of the interaction between species, and the Maasai guides who've lived on that land, been raised on that land, and can tell they know individual animals. It's just incredible. So having that kind of experience, I've never been like a huge, oh, I have to go to the zoo every day, whatever. But this experience just takes life to a whole new level, and you start to see the unity of it, and even the shepherds with the wildlife and their flocks and all that. So it's such a beautiful, I mean, you can't come to Kenya and not go on safari. So that will be a big chunk of our experience.
You're right.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the community and interconnectedness, I think that will be so much of a focus for us, for sure. I thought I would walk you, and Terry, feel free to add,
Okay.
walk you through the itinerary here of what we will
Yes,
do
please.
on this trip. We will, like the Utah trip, we will have a welcome call as a group, and then we're going to have one day, like a Saturday afternoon workshop in February, where we will just connect again, and we'll start to unpack some of the themes. It is so fun when we meet like this and we have breakouts and all that on community, on camera, that when we meet, it's like there's just all the awkwardness just falls away. So it's so important for these trips that we have that little time together. So we will do this for this Kenya trip as well. And the trip is February 19th to March 1st. There's still room in this trip. So we're still hoping that a few more people will join us. I'm recommending that people, not Utah, this is not necessary. And Utah trip will include hotel stays on either end, 2 nights of hotel. I'm recommending for Kenya that people come 1 to 2 days early just to acclimate. And I mean, unless you know how you travel, so it's really up to you, but it doesn't hurt to just arrive a little bit early. And we can help with extra hotel and other suggestions of things that you can do while you're there if you would like. So that's easy to do. And then we will spend 2 full days in Nairobi, again, going to the Tigoni tea fields and having a picnic, Karen Blixen's home. We have a couple of really intentional organizations that are going to visit, and the Giraffe Center, which is just so fun to feed the giraffes right there, which we can't do we can't do on safari. So, and then a wonderful experience of song and dance. All of our trips, and Annie can probably attest to this from Morocco, music and dance are just so key to the experience of being women together. So we definitely want to include that rich, fun, Heather, fun cultural experience of
Yes.
singing and dancing, all of that. And then we'll spend 6 days in the Masai Mara at two ethical safari lodges. And one of them is actually where the Obamas always go, Barack and Michelle, and they've gone to this camp where we're going, and they've planted trees there. And so this is their favorite. This is their favorite lodge, right on the Talek River in the Masai Mara. There's just an abundance of animals there. And then we will spend the rest of our time in a conservancy. And a conservancy land is different because this is land that is is leased from the Maasai tribe, and it is limited to how many people can be there. So that's a much smaller number of people who have access to the land, and it's a really, really beautiful experience. So we're going to stay in two different places, um, beautiful views, and just the animals. I mean, literally, you can look out. I mean, you just sit on your front porch and there are zebras and giraffes and incredible wildlife.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really wonderful. 6 days there, and we will do the safari, and we will have time with the people. We'll have time with the mamas and all the different communities while we're there as well. And we have to visit a school as well. That was one of my highlights last year, was just being in a schoolyard with the children. There's just nothing quite like it. You feel like a celebrity. They're all around you. Unlike kids here where I don't know, they don't even know you're there. I don't know. But it's a really, really beautiful, beautiful, beautiful time. There's an optional morning hot air balloon ride with breakfast. That is like one of those once in a lifetime experiences. So that's also included. A massage at one of the places we're staying. So a little luxury. We throw the luxury in. These are very comfortable, beautiful places because I just believe with Honest Heart Journeys, I want you to feel like this is a special time for you. And so we stay in lovely, understated, but magical lodges and we have the best hospitality. So, um, and then after that, we will again fly out and spend one more day in Nairobi, just celebrating, having a wonderful goodbye dinner. And you are always free. We meet you for all of our trips. We meet you where we begin and end a trip. So you can always plan additional travel around either end. We do that intentionally. So you can make your own decision on how much you want to travel, but happy to talk with you about what feels right for you. Um, anyway, episode 22 of
Yeah.
the Honest Heart Journeys podcast. Together we are one, the spirit of Kenya with Terry Ambugo. You can listen to more and hear her share more of her story there. I am so grateful, Terry, that you are going home and you're taking us with you. You are going to make this experience come alive in such an authentic, heartfelt way. And thank you for listening and saying, okay, yes, I'm going to do it. So grateful.
You're welcome.
Uh,
I want to add that during this trip, for each and every one of you coming, there'll be time for you to take a deeper dive into who you are. Just moments to be one with yourself and your God or that higher power, and just have a deeper reflection. I'm sure life has given you many opportunities to do it, but it is different
yes,
in some spaces, and this would be one of them. I
yes,
would wish that for you.
yes. Yeah, thank you. I'm so grateful that you remind us of that. Journaling is a beautiful just space and time for reflection is always part of these experiences, or just sitting in presence. So we want to make sure that you have that time. So thank you. Thank you. That's very important. So wonderful. Well,
Okay,
anything else
Jen.
Yeah, anything else, Terry, that you?
Um, no, actually, if there's nothing on your end, I just wonder if anybody here tonight has any questions
Yes.
or any thoughts they've been carrying with them that they'd love shared at this point.
That's great. Perfect. Any questions from anyone here about either of these trips, either of these experiences?
Yes, I have a quick
Yeah,
question.
great. Yeah, yeah.
I have a few issues with this Zoom.
We can
Hold on.
hear you. We can hear you.
You're doing fine. We can hear you.
Some profile box just pulled up and blocked your face, Terry, and it's so pretty. I want to be able to see it. So I was wanting to move the box. Um,
Oh, thank you.
I haven't been to this part of the world, but on my list. I
Yes.
will probably be signing up here after the call. But I want to understand like the sense of security, political unrest. Is there any concerns relative to this international travel to this world? I know that it can change maybe from day to day, month to month, you don't know, but in your opinion, how stable and secure will we be?
So I love that question. And your question is, how stable will we be? And
Mm,
the truth is, even I cannot say how that can be from time to time, day to day. I know that the timing of when we are going, things should be very quiet. Weather-wise, things should be very good. If you asked me the stability of things today, well, I can tell you that Kenya just lost someone who is very prominent in the government, and that just had the entire country mourning this individual.
mhm.
And because of that, today, how Kenya presented may have looked different to somebody who is looking in the Kenyan space. To bring you a little bit into this moment, I have had so much respect for this departed individual, and more so what he decided to do even after his passing. He requested that he gets buried within 72 hours. He understood the magnitude of what he is and who he is to the people and to his family. And he wanted things to quiet down first for his family and the people of Kenya. Summary, like anywhere, when it comes to issues of how politics can play, it's hard to say and to promise anything. But I know that I have taken a group of teenagers to Kenya, and they were young, but they were fun. And we traveled, and I got them and God got us all back safe. So I don't know, Jen, if you can add to anything, but I know that for international travel, usually the United States website will always have some information in terms of the level of,
Yes,
security at the time or closer to the time of travel and their recommendations
yes.
at the time. And so that is generally my guideline
Absolutely.
of how to follow things like that when traveling internationally. As far as the places we will go, I'm so grateful that Jen has done the groundwork, has been there, walked these spaces, and understands the spaces that she's organizing for everybody coming to this trip. I, coming to them, can tell you that, yes, they are safe spaces, spaces that even I would want to be in. I hope that helps answer your question.
Thank you.
And thank you, Terry. And I would add that I'm in regular touch with Saruni Base Camp, which is the organization we're partnering with. And
Yeah.
I just spoke with them today because I knew that the past prime minister had passed, and she says, yes, we actually had Monday off. We took a holiday, and everyone was taking that time. And so, but they do. I mean, the hotels where we stay in Nairobi are very safe
Yeah.
and guarded. And then when we get in the Mara, we're an entirely different environment. So they are very intentional about how they care for their tourists. So and I have asked for any updates, and I have someone else who also takes trips there who's in touch with them regularly too. So we're talking regularly, but all is well at this point. So I would feel confident.
Yeah.
It is a good question. It's for all of us.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
and we would never take a trip
Yes.
if it goes to a higher level alert. We would not go.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have any questions? Wow.
I mean, the questions I have, I think, are probably going to come out of the next session. I'm assuming like some of the cultural norms and some of that wasn't included. Like you did a great job on your brochure, and I went through the itinerary and what's included, not included, all that was like, super informational, like the monetary things, all of that. So, like some of the cultural norms, what we should and shouldn't do, and then also like I guess like some of the travel things. I know you suggest a couple days before because I'm looking at the travel and the times of when I would get there versus when we would be leaving and some of those
Right.
details. So I'm assuming that can come later.
That can come later, and I'm happy to hop on a call with you. In fact, there is a great flight, direct flight to Nairobi from through JFK. That's a really nice one that I'm telling
Yeah.
people about. And there is one hotel if you go early that we can book for you, and it's close to the airport because sometimes you're arriving at weird hours. So they'll pick you up. They will pick you up at the airport, be
Yeah.
waiting for you when you arrive. So, yeah. But
Yeah.
let's hop on a call and we can talk through all that. You'll need a visa that takes 3 days to process. Easy. It's another thing. So, but yeah, awesome. I'm excited. Excited. It's great.
Yeah. And just to add, the American embassy also wishes, if you travel, to sign up with them. Let them know your location. So for the trips sometimes we've done that. And that is a helpful piece of information as well.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
And we will have again a welcome call where we talk about all those norms, and then we have a
In details.
planning guide that we give you with a packing list for all of our trips for Utah as well. So we'll be pretty thorough about all that. Yeah, you bet. Okay, Mardell, do you have any questions, or Yana, do you have questions? These are actually, I think these are people who are signed up. In fact, I think Linda's going on both these trips.
Oh, wow. Exciting.
So excited. So
Yeah. Hello.
yeah, which is really wonderful. So Mardell
Yeah.
is going to Kenya. So yeah, very exciting. Really thrilling. Okay.
Hey, that sounds amazing. And I'm so excited that you get to go home as part of your trip, like an actual homecoming. That's pretty special. It's really special.
A couple of years ago, I said I have to go home next year. I just told God, this is something I have to do. But I didn't know it would come with Honest Heart Journeys as well. I didn't sign up for that. But here
Put
we
it
are.
out there.
Told her we'll take
Yes.
you home every other year if you want to go. Let's get you home.
Yes. Yes.
To go with your family. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, wonderful. Well, you know how to get in touch with us if you have any questions about either
Yeah.
of these trips. There is space in both of them, but they are beginning to fill at this point. So,
Right.
which we're really grateful for. We're so excited. So, um, let us know if you have any questions. And thank you to Heather and Terry for sharing more and just allowing people to get to know both of you, your huge hearts. And I'm so excited to get to travel with both of you. And Ari, you will get to go one day. You'll get to go on these too. Actually, you went on Utah. You went on Utah. She left, yeah, so which is wonderful. I loved sharing that trip with her. So, all
Yeah.
right, everyone. We'll have a beautiful night and be in touch if you have any questions. So grateful we had this time together.
Yes.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.